ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. We continue with the dars of Aqeedah, matters of belief. And last time we were talking about the belief in the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and what do we believe with regards to the companions radiallahu anhum. This is one of the matters of belief, and as we talked about it before, the ulama of Al-Sunnah, when they compiled the books in matters of Aqeedah, mainly when the Ummah gets split, and as a result of that they would make sure that the things that the Ummah gets split because of, they mentioned in their books the proper belief in it. Of course, the major parts of belief is the 6 pillars of Al-Iman, which was talked about first. This is the first thing that we discussed. The pillars of Al-Iman, the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the last day, and the angels, and the books, and the messengers, and the qadar, with all the details. And then after that, talked about the belief in the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, since the pillars of Al-Iman can be under the meaning of La ilaha illallah. And then Muhammadur Rasulullah, we talked about the meaning of this, and how that this whole religion of Islam is about the Tawheed, the oneness of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the oneness of following. The only one that we worship is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the only one that we follow is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And what negates the Tawheed and the Ittiba', the oneness of worship and the oneness of following, is the Shirk and the Bid'ah. So 4 things that is mandatory for the Muslim to know. 2 of them are good things, mandatory things, and the 2 things that will negate this or break this. So get to know the evil so that we don't fall into the evil, otherwise the shaitan adorns the evil. He beautifies the evil. And if it's clear evil, people would run away from it. If it looks ugly, people would run away from it. But why many people they would fall in it? Because the shaitan would adorn it, and that's what the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the authentic hadith, حُجِبَتْ الْجَنَّةُ بِالْمَكَارِهِ وَحُجِبَتِ النَّارُ بِالشَّهَوَاتِ. Hujibat from hijab, right? The Jannah has been sealed by the makarih, by the dislikes, and the hellfire has been sealed or covered by the desires. So as Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah he explained, if you want to look at the Jannah from your place, like you want to see the end of one's path so that the Sarat becomes clear, if you want to look at the Jannah, you would see what? You would see dislikes. You won't see something that you would like. You'd see do this, do that, halal, haram, and so on. And if you want to see the hellfire is covered, and it's covered with the desires, right? So it looks more appealing to those who do not know what's in the hereafter. They only know the apparent things of this dunya. يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْأَخِيرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. They only know the apparent things of this dunya. But the wahy comes, this is the benefit of the wahy. The wahy, the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes to make the matter clear, what's beyond this life. So that for someone that wants to enter Jannah, he has to لابد أن يهتك حجاب الجنة. He has to break this hijab of the Jannah. He has to go through the dislikes. And if he breaks that hijab, he will enter Jannah. But someone wants to enter the hellfire, he'll go through the desires, and that would lead him to the hellfire. So knowing these principles, the Tawheed versus the Shirk, the Sunnah versus the Bid'ah, we talked about it briefly. And of course, if you want to mention more details of that, this is maybe a second level of learning. And then after that, talks about the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. So this order is basically the life of the Muslim. We follow the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, not isolated like this, not a text without being applied. No, it was applied perfectly at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, at the time of the companions radiallahu anhu, the early generations of Islam. So anyone that would undermine the level of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, he is basically attacking the whole religion of Islam, right? And as more than one person from the early generations of Islam, they said, among them is Imam Malik rahimahullah, that these people could not attack the Prophet ﷺ directly, otherwise they'll be exposed. People will know that they're evil. So what do? they attack his companions radiallahu anhu. So that people would say, if his companions, Sahaba, are evil, then he is Rajul Su. If his companions are evil, that means he is also evil. Because the person is known by his companions, right? So this is their way to destroy the deen of Islam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved the truth for us, for those who have the criteria to follow, which is the wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The matter is so clear to them. So when we talk about the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and we mentioned before the best of the Sahaba, in general, there are the Muhajirin, and then the Ansar, as we talked about last time, then the people of Badr, and then Uhud, then those of Bay'atul Ridwan, and those who come after them. And we talked about the evidence of that. And then the details of who's the best among the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, then Umar, then Uthman, then Ali radiallahu anhu, then the 10 people, Mubashirin bil Jannah, those who the Prophet ﷺ said about the glad tidings of Jannah, and so on. Then after that, one of the masail, one of the issues of matters of belief is how long was the Khilafah after the Prophet ﷺ? كم مدة الخلافة بعد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم? And there's a hadith of this, more than one hadith. And there's a hadith that he doesn't mention here, which is, we repeated it many times, where the Prophet ﷺ said, فإنه ما يعش منكم فسيرى اختلافا كثيرا. Whoever lives among you, he would find many differences. Right? And then he said عليه الصلاة والسلام فعليكم بسنتي وسنة الخلفاء الراشدين المهديين من بعدي. So stay on my sunnah and stay on the sunnah, on the way of the rightly guided Khalifa after me. Right? عضوا عليها بالنواجذ, bite on it with your molar teeth. This is enough evidence, right, from many evidences, that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed after the Prophet ﷺ from the Khilafah al-Rashida, right, the Khilafah on the footsteps of the prophethood, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed. So this is part of the deen of Islam. He mentioned here the hadith recorded by Abu Dawood and others, and this is an authentic hadith, where he says عن سعيد بن جمهان عن سفينة قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم خلافة النبوة 30 سنة ثم يؤتي الله الملك من يشاء. الحديث. The Khilafah means the successor, right? The Khilafah of the Nubuwah, meaning what comes after the prophethood, is 30 years of Khilafah. 30 years, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the mulk, the kingdomship, to whoever He wills. And this was exactly مدة خلافة أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي رضي الله عنه. This was exactly the period of the Khilafah of Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali رضي الله عنه. And he says Abu Bakr سنتان وثلاثة أشهر. The Khilafah of Abu Bakr رضي الله عنه was 2 years and 3 months. وعمر 10 سنين وستة أشهر, 10 years and 6 months. So that's 12 years and 9 months. وعثمان 12 سنة, right? وعلي 4 سنين و9 أشهر. ويكملهما 30 بيعة الحسن بن علي على 6 أشهر. So Abu Bakr رضي الله عنه 2 years and 3 months. Umar رضي الله عنه 10 years and 6 months. Uthman 12 years. And Ali رضي الله عنه 4 years and 9 months. And the bay'ah, the pledge to Al-Hasan, the son of Ali رضي الله عنه, عن الجميع, was after 6 months of this. So this is exactly 30 years. And after he became the Khalifa, he gave the bay'ah, or he gave it to Muawiyah رضي الله عنه. So وأول ملوك الإسلام, as the Prophet ﷺ said, ثم يؤتي ملكه من يشاء. Then Allah will give His kingdom to whoever He wills. So the first king among the Muslims was Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, وهو خيرهم وأفضلهم, and he is the best of them. He is the best of all the leaders after that from among the Muslims. ثم كان بعده ملكا عضوضا. Then it was عضوضا, meaning that it's inherited, right? It's inherited from the father to the son and so on. إلى أن جاء عمر ibn عبد العزيز رضي الله عنه, till Umar ibn Abd al-Aziz رضي الله عنه, he's from the Umayyin, he came. فعده أهل السنة خليفة خامسا. لسيره بسيرة الخلفاء الراشدين. The ulama, they call him the fifth Khalifa because how he was in the footsteps of the Khulafa al-Rashidin, the four Khulafa al-Rashidin. And since these names are mentioned, and we talked about it before, this is also the order of virtues. The best is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, then Umar, then Uthman, then Ali radiallahu anhu. And when we say Muawiyah radiallahu anhu is better than those who came after him. And who is better, Muawiyah radiallahu anhu or Umar ibn Abdul Aziz? That should not be have any confusion or any doubt. Of course Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, a Sahabi, a companion of the Prophet ﷺ. The virtue to see the Prophet ﷺ, right? Nothing is equal to this whatsoever. These people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose them to accompany the Prophet ﷺ. And Abdullah ibn Mubarak, I think we mentioned that before, he was asked that question, right? Because sometimes when you read the history of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he was such a just ruler and he lived a very humble life and so on. But because of how these evil people, those who wrote history, right, they talked about some things about Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. And regardless, as we mentioned before, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum are not ma'sumeen. They are not sinless people, right? We do not believe that they are sinless people, they're holy people. No. They bound to make mistakes, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had forgiven their sins. Those who the Prophet ﷺ died when he was pleased with them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called the Sahaba radiallahu anhum wa. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with him. And if it's stated in the Quran, whatever is stated in the Quran stays till the day of judgment, does not change. Right? Because this book is still the day of judgment. So the Quran talks about the Sahaba, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them, it won't change. After the death of the Prophet ﷺ, he will continue to be pleased with them till the day of judgment. So on Abdullah ibn Mubarak, this is a matter again of belief, because otherwise a person is denying the Quran. When he was asked who is better, Muawiyah radiallahu anhu or Umar ibn Abdul Aziz rahimahullah or radiallahu anhu. It's okay to say radiallahu anhu also, because it's not something you're saying it as a dua also for him. He said the statement, he did not say that Muawiyah is better. No, he said the dust in the nose of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu is better than Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Right? ترى في أنف معاوية رضي الله عنه أفضل من عمر بن عبد العزيز. Why? Because this is a level that nobody can come close to it. And then he said that something in the meaning of which معاوية رضي الله عنه رأى النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام صلى خلف النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم سمع الله لمن حمده ومعاوية رضي الله عنه قال ربنا ولك الحمد. من يستطيع أن يصل إلى هذه المرتبة؟ Muawiyah radiallahu anhu saw the Prophet ﷺ, talked with the Prophet ﷺ. He was from the Katabat al-Wahy. He is one of the people that was writing the Wahy, the Quran, Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. And he prayed behind the Prophet ﷺ. And he said something very interesting, that the Prophet ﷺ would say, Sami Allah liman hamida. Muawiyah radiallahu anhu would say, Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Who can reach this level? That you can be with someone that you would see the Prophet ﷺ. And to get to know this level, seeing the Prophet ﷺ is equal to one's wealth and family. And this is the authentic hadith what the Prophet ﷺ said about those who would come after the Prophet ﷺ. أشد الناس حبا لي. Among those who would love me the most, those who would come after me, يتمنى أحدهم لو يراني بأهله ومالي. One of them would wish to see me by his family and his wealth, just to see the Prophet ﷺ. Right, this is the sign of the love of the Prophet ﷺ. Imagine that how each and every one of us, we love our family and we love our wealth, right? And you would sacrifice for your family. And to see the Prophet ﷺ in your life, if you love the Prophet ﷺ truly, you would be willing to give up your whole family and your whole wealth, all of it, just to see. So imagine someone saw and talked and lived and prayed behind. And what level is this? Right? So there is nothing more valuable in one's life than the Prophet ﷺ from among the human beings. So the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they reach this level. So who can be close to this? So you can imagine how evil it is when someone would say something about them radiallahu anhum when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose them. So this is with the hadith that 30 years after the Prophet ﷺ is the Khilafah, and it was exactly. And this is one of the miracles of the Prophet ﷺ, by the month. And then he says, مَا الدَّلِيلُ عَلَى خِلَافَةِ هَؤُلَاءِ الْأَرْبَعَةِ جُمْلَةً. What is the evidence of this Khilafah of these four in general? He said there are so many. And it's enough that this is the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed for this ummah. And it was shown in the hadith that this is the best generation. خَيْرُ النَّاسِ قَرْنِي ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ. The best of this ummah is this generation, and the one after, and the one after. So being the best generation, being the Khilafah for 30 years, that's it, that's enough. Because otherwise, there is then a person denying these facts. فَمِنْهَا حَصْرُ مُدَّتِهَا فِي 30 سَنَةً فَكَانَتْ مُدَّةُ وِلَايَةٍ. The 30 years that are mentioned in the hadith. وَمِنْهَا مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ تَفْضِيلِهِمْ عَلَى غَيْرِهِمْ وَتَفَاضُلِهِمْ عَلَى تَرْتِيبِ خِلَافَتِهِمْ. And how it's mentioned before their virtues, and how they were in ranks when it comes to their virtue, according to their khilafah. وَمِنْهَا مَا رَوَى أَبُو دَاوُدْ وَغَيْرُهُ عَنْ سَمُرَ بْنِ جُنْدُبٍ. That what Abu Dawud rahimahullah and others, they narrated from Samur ibn Jundub, أَنَّ رَجُلًا قَالَ, that a man said, and this hadith actually is da'if, is weak. So it's not to be used for matters of evidence, but he mentioned that, Ya Rasulullah, the meaning is correct, but the hadith is da'if. إني رأيت كأن دلوا أدلي من السماء فجاء أبو بكر فأخذ بعراقيها فشرب شربا ضعيفا ثم جاء عمر فأخذ بعراقيها فشرب حتى تضلع ثم جاء عثمان فأخذ بعراقيها فشرب حتى تضلع ثم جاء علي فأخذ بعراقيها فانتشطت وانتضح عليه منها شيء. So a man said to the Prophet ﷺ, as if I saw, meaning in his dream, a bucket came down from the skies, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu came and he took by the rope of the bucket, and he drank from it, weak, not too much. He drank a little bit, and then Umar drank from it حتى تضلع, till his ribs. When you drink, you feel like your ribs are getting bigger because you're drinking so much. So he drank from it so much. It's like the time period of the Khilafah. And then Uthman radiallahu anhu came and he drank from it till the same thing. He drank whole much. Then Ali radiallahu anhu, he came and he drank from it. So something spilled on him from it, right? Because of what happened with Ali radiallahu anhu. But this hadith, as we said, is weak. ومنها, and some of the ulama had authenticated, but another hadith that is authentic, right? And it's enough of what has been mentioned. And the ijma', the consensus of the ummah, that with regards to the khilafah of these four, وَلَا يَطْعَنْ فِي خِلَافَةِ أَحَدٍ مِّنْهُمْ إِلَّا ضَالٌ مُبْتَدِعٌ. Nobody would say anything about the khilafah of these four unless they are deviant innovators in the deen of Islam. Also he mentioned a hadith which is sahih, which is close to the meaning of the previous hadith. And when we say two hadith, one is weak and one is authentic, and they can mean the same thing, right? It's because the ulama, when they give the verdict whether it's weak or authentic, it's because of two things: either the matn or the sanad, right? Either the same quote of the hadith or the chain of narrations. So you can have an authentic hadith but have more than one narration to it. Some of these narrations are weak, but the hadith is authentic because of other narrations that is authentic, and there's so many of this, right? So one of which, this hadith, which is an authentic hadith reported by Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi and others, where the Prophet ﷺ said one day, "Man ra'a minkum ru'ya," who saw among you a dream? فقال رجل أنا رأيت كأن ميزانا نزل من السماء. I saw like a mizan, like a balance scale had came down from the skies. فوزنت أنت وأبو بكر فرجحت أنت بأبي بكر. So the balance from that has two sides, the old-fashioned one, right, not the electronic one. So he's saying to the Prophet ﷺ, "You Prophet of Allah, you were weight on one side of the balance and Abu Bakr on the other side, and you outweighed Abu Bakr. And Umar and Abu Bakr were put on both sides of the balance, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu overweight the balance over Umar radiallahu anhu. وَوَزِنَ عُمَرْ وَعُثْمَانَ فَرَجْهَ Umar. Then Umar and Uthman were put on both sides, and Umar outweighed Uthman. ثُمَّ رُفِعَ الْمِيزَانِ. Then the mizan was lifted. Right? And then the Prophet ﷺ also said, أَرَى اللَّيْلَ رَجُلٌ صَالِحٌ أو أُرِيَ اللَّيْلَ رَجُلٌ صَالِحٌ أَنَّ أَبَا بَكْرٍ نِيطَ بِرَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم وَنِيطَ عُمَرْ بِأَبِي بَكْرٍ وَنِيطَ عُثْمَانُ بِعُمَرٍ. The Prophet ﷺ narrated that to the people, that the man saw that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was outweighed by the Prophet ﷺ and so on. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ approved this ru'ya, so it becomes wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the approval of the Prophet ﷺ. And again, there are many incidences, this is what he mentioned. No, this is country hadith. Then he talked about the Khilafah of Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhuma ijmalan. In general, the Prophet ﷺ said, بينما أنا نائم رأيتني, and this is in Bukhari and Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, while I was sleeping, I saw myself وأنا على قليب عليه دل, that on a, you have it right all over the place, where there's water, creek, right? And there's a bucket by it. He said, فَنَزَعْتُ مِنْهَا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I took from the water as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will. ثُمَّ أَخَذَهُ ابْنُ أَبِي قُحَافَةَ. Then Abu Bakr, this is, they used to, because this is what his name is, kunya, or his lineage. Then Ibn Abi Quhafa, he took it, which is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, took the bucket from me, and he took from it ذنوبا أو ذنوبين وفي نزعه ضعف. He took 2 buckets of water, right? And it was weak, right? Because he stayed for 2 years, radiallahu anhu. وَاللَّهُ يَغْفِرُ لَهُ ضَعْفًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive his weakness. ثُمَّ استحالت غربا, which means, and then after that it became different, or became not to be drank from it. فأخذها ابن الخطاب فلم أرى عبقريا من الناس ينزع نزع عمر حتى ضرب الناس بعطا. Then Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he took it. فلم أرى عبقريا من الناس. العبقري is no, it's not as they always call as genius. Strong. I didn't see someone strong like Umar would take it, would take the buckets of water till basically حتى ضرب الناس بعطن. I don't exactly recall the meaning of that part of the hadith, but anyway, it shows that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and then after that Umar radiallahu anhu, specifically they come after one another. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was the Khalifa after the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And as it's mentioned, Sahih Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim, that a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ, فَأَمَرَهَا أَن تَرْجِعْ. He ordered her to go back. So she said, أَرَأَيْتَ إِنْ جِئْتَ وَلَمْ أَجِدْكَ. She said, what if I come back and I don't find you, O Prophet of Allah? كَأَنَّهَا تَقُولُ الْمَوْتِ. As if she wanted to say, if you die. عليه الصلاة والسلام. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet ﷺ told her, إِلَّمْ تَجِدِينِ فَأْتِ أَبَا بَكْرٍ. If you don't find me, then come to Abu Bakr. And also what's in Sahih Muslim from Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, قال لي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم told me, ادعي لي أباك وأخاك حتى أكتب كتابا فإني أخاف أن يتمنى متمن ويقول قائل أنا أولى ويأبى الله والمؤمنون إلا أبا بكر. In Sahih Muslim, Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم told me, call your father and your brother, so that I would write a book. The Prophet ﷺ doesn't write himself. The Prophet ﷺ was illiterate, right? But he would say to someone to write, because I'm afraid that someone would have a wishful thinking and say, I have more rights, meaning after the Prophet ﷺ, to be in charge. وَيَأْبَى اللَّهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِلَّا أَبَا بَكْرٍ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the believers, they refuse to have anyone but Abu Bakr, meaning after the Prophet ﷺ. And when the Prophet ﷺ was in his deathbed, he ordered for Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu to lead the salah. And this is by itself, it's been always the case. Whenever there's a Muslim leader, he's the one that leads the people in the salah. That's why when we talked about the issue of the second jama'ah, and when some of the ulama, or many of the ulama forbade that, because first it wasn't done at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, that after the first jama'ah, group of Sahaba comes and make their own jama'ah, and then another jama'ah. This is one thing. Another thing is, this can be a bad sign, right? Because usually, or used to be, that the leader, he's the one that leads the salah. So if a group of people come, right, and they keep on doing that more over and over again, and they come late for the salah and they make their own jama'ah, this can be start of an evil thing, right? That they want to take over, for example, right? So that's why the jama'ah, the first jama'ah only to be established, or that's why some of them, or many of them, they said it's not permissible to make more than one jama'ah. So the Prophet ﷺ in his deathbed, he ordered for Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu to lead the salah, insisting about that as it's mentioned before. And وأجمع على بيعته جميع أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من المهاجرين والأنصار من بعدهم. And it's enough also the consensus among the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. Once the Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was given the bay'ah, they all agreed and they gave the pledge to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, all of them, and عليه radiallahu anhu and others. Briefly, 3 questions. So this is with the Khilafah of Abu Bakr. Then the Khilafah of Umar radiallahu anhu after Abu Bakr. And from this is what the Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith, reported by Imam Ahmad and others, where he said عليه الصلاة والسلام إني لا أدري ما قدر بقائي فيكم فاقتدوا باللذين من بعدي وأشار إلى أبي بكر وعمر. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, I do not know how long I would stay among you. So فاقتدوا, which means follow, right? Take a qudwa, take a role model after me, the two after me, باللذين من بعدي, by the two after me. And he pointed عليه الصلاة والسلام to Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhuma, follow them, take them as examples after me. And also from the hadith of al-fitna التي تموج كموج البحر, when Umar radiallahu anhu asked Hudayfa radiallahu anhu, and Hudayfa used to keep the secrets of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, and he used to ask the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم about the evil things. And he said that radiallahu anhu, he said كان الناس يسألون رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الخير وكنت أسأله عن الشر مخافة أن يدركني. He said people used to ask the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم about good things, and I used to ask the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم about evil things out of the fear that it might afflict me. So it's important to know what is evil. So that's why they used to ask Hudayfa radiallahu anhu about things that's going to happen in the future. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he asked him about the fitna, when the fitna will occur in this ummah. So Hudayfa radiallahu anhu said to Umar, إِنَّ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهَا بَابًا مُغْلَقًا. Hudayfa said to Umar, between you and the fitna, O Umar, and he was the Khalifa, there's a locked door between you and the fitna. Right? And when he asked him, before that, he told him to talk to me about the fitna. He said fitna al-rajul fi ahli bayti and so on. The fitna of the man with his household, with his children, with his wife, because all of these are fitan. Fitan not necessarily that is evil, but it's a test, whether a person would do good or do evil with this. So he said, this is not what I'm asking you about. I'm asking about the fitan التي تموج كموج البحر. The fitan that is like the sea, like the waves of the sea, that a person becomes in a storm, he doesn't know where he's going, left or right, and can take one's religion and and so on. So that's what he was asking him about. So Hudayfa radiallahu anhu told him, you, O Umar, between you and the fitna is a locked door. So Umar, out of his fiqh and understanding, very smart and very understanding of this, he said, أَيُفْتَحُ أَمْ يُكْسَرُ? Is this door going to be opened or is it going to be broken? Understand the metaphor here? So he said, بَلْ يُكْسَرُ. He said it will be broken. So Umar radiallahu anhu said, إِذَا لَا يُغْلَقُ. Then it won't be closed after me. If it's broken, it won't be closed, it's broken. But if it's opened and fitna comes, maybe it can be closed and the fitna is over. That means once Umar radiallahu anhu died, this was the beginning of the fitan in this ummah. And it's true till today, right? But the fitan, right, is there, right? Should a person then be sad and so on? No, because the deen is saved. Yes, there's fitan, but the deen is saved. Whoever wants to be safe from the fitna, go back to the way it was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr and Umar, right, and Uthman and Ali. This is the Khilafah Rashid, and this is saved for us. So why the fitan comes, and the fitan is not about someone dying or losing his arm. This is easy if a person enters Jannah. The fitan here is a person losing his deen, and he becomes in hellfire forever. This is the real fitan. So a person wants to save himself, forget about these opinions. I'm not talking about fiqh opinions, I'm talking about opinions, right? This is the way to establish the deen, this is the way to be superior, this is the way to be steadfast. Forget about all of this, unless it's from the Quran and the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and it was practiced and done at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, even if it's against what you see and what you feel, and you might think that what's in the wahi is really what we're going to leave it for, as people always say. No, follow the text, follow the wahi from the Prophet ﷺ, especially when the matter is not clear. You would find the matter is by the will of Allah, this is what we're ordered to do. So the point is here, right? We do not take a step unless we know for sure that this is the way of the Prophet ﷺ and the early generations of Islam. If we're in doubt, then you won't be asked on the Day of Judgment, why didn't you do this? I didn't know. Very easy and simple. You won't be asked about something you didn't do, why you didn't do it, but you'll be asked about something you did, why did you do it? Right? If he didn't do something because he didn't know, then the matter is, this is what's supposed to be done in fitan. You stay away from it, not that you get close to it. You don't indulge in it, you run away from it. So this is with Uthman, with Umar radiallahu anhu. فَكَانَ الْبَابُ عُمَرْ وَكَسْرُ قَتْلُ. And he understood from that the door was Umar. And to break it is to the killing of Umar radiallahu anhu. فَلَمْ يُرْفَعْ بَعْدُهُ سَيْفٌ بَيْنَ الْأُمَّةِ. That means the sayf is continued, the sword has been like that among the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is consensus among the ummah that Umar is after Abu Bakr, and then Uthman after Umar radiallahu anhu. In the hadith of Ka'b ibn Ajwa, it took a long time, but just 2 minutes inshallah we'll finish, where he said that the Prophet ﷺ said a fitna, mention a fitna. So ذكر السلام فتنة فقربها فمر رجل مقنع رأسه. A man passed while he is covering his head. فقال the Prophet ﷺ said, this man يومئذ على الهدى. This man, he will be guided on that day. So the narrator of the hadith, Ka'b ibn Ajwa, said, فَوَثَبْتُ. So I jumped and I took Uthman and I made him face the Prophet ﷺ, and I told him, هذا? Him? He said, yes, it's him. And this is an authentic hadith. So the Prophet ﷺ also said to Uthman radiallahu anhu, يا عثمان إن ولاك الله هذا الأمر يوما فأرادك المنافقون أن تخلع قميصك الذي قمصك الله فلا تخلع. نقول ذلك 3 مرات. And this hadith recorded by Imam Ahmad, Tirmidhi and others. Authentic hadith. The Prophet ﷺ told Uthman radiallahu anhu, if one day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you this matter, make you in charge, and the munafiqun and the hypocrites, they wanted you to take the qamis, the qamis is the clothing, right? To take the Khilafah out and to resign from being the Khalifa, do not take it off. And he said to him 3 times this. And that's why Uthman radiallahu anhu was patient, and he refused for the Sahaba to fight for him, and he didn't want the blood of the Muslims to be shed because of him, and he chose to meet the Prophet ﷺ and to die as a martyr, as we know in this fitna that happened. And of course also this was consensus among the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. Then the Khilafah of Ali radiallahu anhu, when the Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, وَيْحَ عَمَّارْ تَقْتُلُهُ الْفِئَةِ الْبَاغِيَةِ يَدْعُوهُمْ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ وَيَدْعُونَهُ إِلَى النَّارِ. Prophet ﷺ said about Ammar ibn Yasir radiallahu anhu, that the transgressing group, they will kill him. He's calling them to Jannah and they're calling him to the fire. And Ammar radiallahu anhu was killed by the other group, which is the group of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, right? And the Prophet ﷺ stated the fact that both groups are believers. As he said about Al-Hasan, the grandson of the Prophet ﷺ, that he said alayhi salatu wasalam, in the Ibn Hada Sayyid, my grandson Al-Hasan is Sayyid, is someone that is a chief or an honored person. وَيُصْلِحُ اللَّهُ بِهِ بَيْنَ فِئَتَيْنِ عَظِيمَتَيْنِ مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. That Allah would make him a source of peace between 2 groups, big groups of the Muslims. So the belief of Ahl Sunnah is that the fitna that happened at the time of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, we don't talk about it, as we said before. There is no need for us to indulge in it and to talk about it and to see what happens and this and that. Otherwise, your heart might recline or to a group and not the other, because of how human nature is. So to avoid that, to stay away from it totally. And these tapes that talks about the fitna and so on, you should avoid that. That's why the ulama, they warn people from listening to these types of tapes. Why? Because it might make you feel one way or the other. And to believe that, of course, the group that was closer to the truth was Ali radiallahu anhu and those who are with him. And they made their ijtihad. This was based on their striving with to see what is right, and they got two of the rewards. And the other group, they were mistaken, but they got one reward, right, because of their ijtihad. So are both believers. And also, this is also what the Prophet ﷺ said, the believers. And this is also with the consensus of the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. So again, this is a matter of belief. Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman, then Ali, radiallahu anhu. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to purify our hearts from any evil or ghil to those who believed and surpassed us in matters of iman. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to say that in the Quran, in the dua, that the believers, they say, رَبَّنَا لَا تَجْعَلْ فِي قُلُوبِنَا غِلًّا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. That those who are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that are believers, they would make dua, Allah, do not have in our hearts ghil, hatred, to those who surpassed us in matters of belief, and to forgive all of us. I mean, and we continue inshallah ta'ala with other matters of aqeedah next time. وصلى وسلم وبارك على محمد وصحبه وسلم.